Hi guys, Irina here and welcome back to my channel where I review everything tech. It's been about 2 weeks since I got my new iPad Pro and I have to admit that I absolutely love it. There are still some pros and cons when it comes to using this iPad and let's talk about it in this video. So, since the unboxing, I've been using this iPad every single day. Even when I didn't plan on using it, I still couldn't just walk by it since this iPad just makes you want to pick it up and use it. Honestly, I haven't had this feeling for a long time, even with the new tech products. By the way, I got my iPad Pro in 11 inches since this size of an iPad is my favorite and it's perfect for me. I've already told you guys in my unboxing video that I switched to this iPad Pro from my 2017 iPad Pro, so it's been quite a while since my last upgrade and I really love the design of this iPad. I like that it has smaller bezels. The only thing that felt weird when I just got this iPad was the missing home button since, let's face it, it was really convenient and helpful on the older iPad models, but of course I got used to the Face ID on this iPad Pro pretty quickly, so there is no problem here. However, speaking of the last year's iPad Pro model, it seems like the design hasn't changed much. It has the same squared up shape with flat edges and 4 speakers, which I'll talk about later in this video. I also got this Magic Keyboard since I have to write a lot on a daily basis and I haven't regretted getting this keyboard for a second since it's super convenient. It's perfect for writing and with this keyboard your iPad turns into a mini computer, which is amazing because sometimes I just want to get comfortable on the couch and work, and while my laptop is quite heavy and oftentimes it gets overheated, in this case the iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard is just perfect for me. This Magic Keyboard also acts as a case for your iPad since you could fold it like this. However, the only thing is that when I have to take my iPad Pro off the keyboard, since this position of the iPad doesn't feel comfortable for me when I'm handwriting or drawing, in this situation I literally don't have any case on it, so the finish could get scratched or in case you accidentally drop it, there won't be any protection for your iPad. So just keep it in mind if you consider purchasing the Magic Keyboard, since there are a lot of other alternatives from other brands out there which could be more versatile for you. However, lately I've been just turning my iPad Pro upside down like this. Maybe it looks weird, but this way you don't have to take your iPad off the Magic Keyboard and it still has some protection. Now let's talk about the display of this iPad Pro. As I previously mentioned, it has an 11-inch display. The first thing I've noticed is that the colors look different on the new iPad Pro when compared to my older 2017 iPad Pro. This display looks more contrasty and overall the colors look more vivid. Also, it's really nice to see the improvement when it comes to brightness, since the display on the new iPad Pro is significantly brighter. I don't even have to keep the max brightness on this iPad Pro since the display is really bright. By the way, I got this glass screen protector for my iPad Pro. I use the same brand with my old iPad Pro and it's been great for the past 3 years. I didn't even have to change it since it looks almost the same as on its first day. It hasn't peeled, it still looks great at the edges, so I can definitely recommend it. Hope this screen protector will last me as long as the previous one. The thing I love about this iPad Pro is the speakers. There are 4 speakers on this iPad and they can get really loud. I've already mentioned in my unboxing video that the speakers on my older iPad Pro were not the best in terms of volume, so I'm happy now. I rarely use these speakers at max volume, but say if I'm watching a video on YouTube with quiet audio, I could easily fix the problem now by just turning up the volume, which I couldn't do on my older iPad Pro since the sound volume was always set to the max already. When it comes to battery life, I have no complaints here. It really depends on how you use this iPad. Sometimes it lasts me about 5 days if I only use it a couple of hours in the evening to watch some videos or movies. Or I could drain this iPad Pro in a day if I was doing something more demanding like drawing in Procreate or working with digital content. Speaking of charging, I did a charging test, and as you can see, it took 2 hours and 16 minutes to fully charge this iPad Pro with the included 20-watt charger. When it comes to editing photos, I can definitely say that this iPad Pro is so much faster than my 2017 iPad Pro. Even though I've never complained about how fast my older iPad Pro was, now I can see this difference. The new iPad Pro is more responsive and zippier, especially when it comes to some precise and detailed tweaks. All the commands feel instant and there is no lag, and this makes the whole workflow so much more enjoyable and faster. And now let's talk about the video editing on this iPad Pro. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever switch from a MacBook Pro to the iPad Pro to edit my videos, because I think even a 12.9-inch display is too small for video editing. It's really bad for my eyes since all the objects on the timeline are just too small. And if you're gonna connect an external display to your iPad, then why not get a computer with Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, rather than buying this iPad. But in general, if you really wanna edit videos on your iPad, of course it is possible. There are a bunch of apps that you could use, and I'm not even gonna mention LumaFusion because it seems like everybody's talking about it. Yes, this app is probably one of the closest ones to professional video editing programs, but I've also tried a few other apps for video editing. The first one is InShot. I usually use it on my phone, but it works just fine on the iPad. The good thing is that this app includes some simple color grading options, which is kinda rare for these types of apps, because usually you just get a bunch of filters. The next app I like is VN. It has a lot of essential tools, including some color grading options. The interface is quite simple and easy to figure out. And the last app I think is worth trying is called vMix Pro. This one reminds me of the Final Cut Pro a bit, and this app is pretty good. But let's not forget that these are not the professional video editors, so you can just do some simple editing in these apps. Next, let's talk about the camera setup on this iPad Pro. We have two cameras here, a 12-megapixel main camera and a 10-megapixel ultra-wide camera. And while I don't really use the camera on my iPad Pro for taking photos, I still use it quite often for scanning documents, which is sometimes super helpful. Anyway, I was curious to see how good the camera is on this iPad Pro, so let's take a look at some photos and videos. When it comes to the front camera, we have a 12-megapixel camera here. I was aware that it's wide-angled, but I was surprised to see such a wide angle on this front camera. It feels like a whole bunch of friends could fit into the frame here. And you've probably already heard about this new tracking feature in FaceTime, which is pretty cool. The last thing I want to talk about is gaming on this iPad Pro, and even though I'm not really big on playing games on my iPad, since I mostly use it for my work and studies, I still have a few of my favorite games here. Some games are simple and the other ones are quite demanding, and of course I want to pay more attention to more demanding games, and I think it wouldn't be a surprise to say that this iPad Pro is more than just capable of handling such games. The whole gaming experience is super smooth, no glitches, no freezes, since this iPad Pro with its M1 chip is really snappy and fast. If you have the last year's iPad Pro model, I don't think you would really experience any drastic difference with this new iPad Pro. However, if you're someone like me who hasn't upgraded for a few years, then it's probably time. You'll definitely feel the difference in pretty much any field, especially when it comes to audio and the viewing experience on the new iPad Pro. This upgrade was a long time coming for me, but still, the new iPad Pro is quite expensive. Of course, you could save some money if you go for the Wi-Fi version, which I did since I use my iPad mostly at home, so I didn't have a reason to spend extra for the cellular version. And also, I went for the basic 128GB model because I know that for my needs, that would be more than enough. And when shopping for the new iPad Pro, you can't underestimate the price of the accessories, like the Magic Keyboard and the Apple Pencil, which I absolutely needed to have for my work. And yeah, they added over $400 to the final price of this iPad. So at the end of the day, you will just have to decide for yourself which version of the iPad and accessories to get, depending on your needs and budget. Guys, let me know which iPad model you're using now and which one you're thinking of upgrading to. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.